Every day we all make decisions around money. Money rules. This is where the concept of good and bad debt comes in. Passive income, $2 million in net assets. Every day we all make decisions around money. Should I pay off my debt? Should I buy a house? Should I invest in property, the stock market? The list goes on. To make the kind of life-changing wealth that we want, we need to start by narrowing down on the things that are important so that we know what to focus on. I'm going to share with you today the 9 money rules I have to help me reach my financial goals. These are personal to me and to my life, and I'm just sharing them with you so that they can give you a bit of an idea around what you can do to create your own money goals to help you reach the goals that you have. We work with a lot of clients to help them build their wealth so that they can actually go on and do the things that they want to do and live the life that they want to be living. They might want to retire early, they might want to carry on, whatever their drive is. For me, it's about spending more time with my kids. Now, to have a passive income of say $100,000, you really need to be having around about $2 million in net assets outside of the family home. I have 3 kids who I'd really like to put through private school, so for me, that number is a little bit higher. At the moment, I'm all about reducing debt and saving money to put into passive income so that I can actually reach my goal. Now you understand what my goal is, let me share with you my rules that I'm using to help get me there. Number 1, have an emergency fund of cash. You will often find people like myself advocating that you should have 3 to 6 months worth of cash sitting in a bank for a rainy day. I would say this is a minimum amount. What you actually have in there really does depend upon your own lifestyle and your own opinion. For me personally, having never taken maternity leave because neither the business nor our personal finances could afford it, that magic number is 12 months. So that's what I'm saving towards. For you, it might be less. Your commitments might be less. You might be able to go home to your parents. There might be any number of reasons. You may not need to have quite so much money saved in the bank. But bottom line, I would say having at least 3 to 6 months saved in the bank for a rainy day would be your bare minimum. Number 2, save at least 10% of your income and invest at least 5% of your income. That seems like a lot, given that we've gone through nearly a year of solid interest rate rises. But hear me out. Warren Buffett once said, do not save whatever's left after spending. Spend whatever's left after saving. And it's absolutely true. If you want to save and invest towards your passive income goals, then you actually need to treat the saving like it's an expense and put it into the budget so that it actually happens every month. Otherwise, you're going to find there's never anything left over because you're spending all the money you have. So start with these numbers, and as your income goes up, they can go up too. To give you some idea of how this would work out, if you save $900 a month, which is about 10% on a $100,000 income, every month for 30 years, you'd have your $2 million in savings. Yes, this is for the long haul, but the longer you take to start, the older you're going to be before you actually get there. When it comes to investing, it's all about your pill of choice, and I'm not here to tell you what to invest in. However, I will say that you want to be able to add to it frequently, so you need to bear this in mind when you set it up. For me, I also think about the tax outcome and what it means at the other end when I'm having to pay my future tax, that is the capital gains tax, when I decide to sell out of the asset. How easy is it going to be to put all the records together to make that calculation? And yes, I'm an accountant, so I can do it myself, but if I was going to have to pay somebody else to do it, how much would that add in the cost for them because it's so complicated? Number 3, be able to pay in full for big expenses. So here I'm thinking about your wedding, honeymoon, or your car. I would love to say add it into your house as well. However, with the median Australian house price of $779,719, I think that ship may have sailed. I think the bigger point here though is having a no debt policy in your household. Now, I'm not a saint. I have debt. I have a mortgage and I have a credit card, both of which I pay extra into each month to pay them off a lot quicker. Different people can have different opinions about debt, and handled correctly, it can actually be a very useful tool to have. This is where the concept of good and bad debt comes in. So, bad debt would be things like your mortgage, that personal loan you took out to pay for solar panels, basically any kind of loan that you are not able to take a tax deduction for. Good debt, on the other hand, is money that you have borrowed to buy assets. So these are things where you can take a deduction for the interest. So that would be things like borrowing to buy an investment property or buy a share portfolio. I think the overall point here is to actually look ahead and save up for the things that you want to be buying in the future. So if you know that you are going to be getting married in the next year or 18 months, then start saving so you can pay for as much of that wedding as possible cash in hand. this is what we did with our wedding. We were actually able to save up for and pay in full for our wedding when we had it. And the same for our honeymoon, we paid cash for that too, just so that we didn't have the long-lasting debt afterwards. Yes, it meant that we had a slightly smaller wedding, and yes, it also meant that I was a lot more savvy in terms of how we spent the money. But I actually took that to be a bit of a game, just to see how much I could actually save on this wedding. Number 4, don't skimp for simple pleasures. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not advocating that you go out and you buy up big on every little thing going. But what I am saying is don't deny yourself everything. Much like that really restrictive diet that you go on where you're denied all your carbs, all your sugars, all your everything, what's the first thing that you want to have when you deny yourself all of those things? That's right, you want to go out and have a big pasta meal and a big slice of cake. Don't do it to yourself. If you allow yourself a little bit of the things that you enjoy, then you'll find that you won't be binging on everything. So go out with friends, enjoy a drink or two, have some fun, see a movie, buy a book, buy yourself that new pair of trousers that you've got your eye on. Do the things that give you pleasure. Number 5, find a luxury you enjoy and enjoy it without feeling guilty. Many years ago now, I worked for BHP Iron Ore. Now, company fatigue management policy meant that every time we climbed on a plane and flew somewhere, if that flight was more than 3 hours, we had to fly business class. I was sent to Rio to help them out with something, and that meant that I had the very great luxury and pleasure of flying business class all the way. And boy, what an eye-opener it was. At that particular point in time, I was doing a lot of flying between Australia and Europe, and I was always doing it in economy class because I just simply couldn't justify the extra fares. Well, that Rio trip well and truly opened my eyes. So now my rule is whenever I can, I fly business class provided the flight is more than 3 hours. It's a little bit of luxury I get to enjoy. You choose something for you. Number 6, buy the best and keep it going for as long as possible. What's the best? Well, that's entirely up to you. But for me, it's things like makeup, the clothes that I wear, the car that I drive. I bought myself a BMW 320i when I first qualified. It was a little present to me when I finished my CA to reward myself for the hard work that I had done in CA. And trust me, CA is a very big load of work. It's a lot of hard work to become a chartered accountant. I loved that car. I kept that car for over 10 years. In fact, I only got rid of it when it blew up on the side of the freeway one day. And even though it was repaired, by that stage, I had a couple of children, a couple of dogs, and I just simply couldn't fit everybody and everything in the car all at the same time. So I had to sell it, and it was possibly the saddest day of my life. I like to have nice clothes, so that means I buy them less often. I don't get caught up in the trends of the day. I tend to buy classic styles that I know will last. For my phone, the very one that I'm recording this video on, it's the iPhone 11 Pro. I bought the biggest one I could afford at the time, and I will keep it until it no longer works. Put it this way, I kept my iPhone 4 and switched it for the 11 Pro, and I only did that because the apps didn't open anymore and the button stopped working. The point is, don't allow yourself to be caught up in the newest, shiniest, brightest object syndrome. Buy the things you like, pay the money you like for them, and then hold on to them for as long as you possibly can. Number 7, work where you will be happy. For many of us, the 38-hour working week is a bit of a dream. However, even if it wasn't, we spend far too much time at work to be somewhere that makes us unhappy. So I always like to make sure that I'm working around people and in places that actually give me joy. Now, I'm not saying you need to throw away your career to go and find your inner bliss, because I get it. We all need to earn money to pay our bills. What I'm saying is, and I've learned this the hard way, you need to be somewhere you enjoy being when you go to work every day. The people around you need to make you laugh, the work needs to bring you joy, you need to find some happiness while you're there. I remember being 1 or 2 years out of university and being given the opportunity to work for one of the big 4 accounting practices. The opportunity was massive and I was super excited about it. I had these grandiose visions of being partner and conquering the world. However, the firm was known for long working hours, and that was a really big concern to me because I have always valued my work-life balance. So in my second interview, when I was given the opportunity to have a chat to one of the existing team members, I asked the question. I was told that provided you can actually achieve your chargeable targets during the working hours and get all your work done, then there was absolutely no reason why you would need to be staying back to do your work. That was enough for me and I accepted the job. I loved working there for about the first year, but then reality started to set in. Between internal meetings, internal training, internal coaching sessions, it was becoming harder and harder and harder to actually achieve the 85% chargeable rate that we needed to be achieving every single day during office hours. So the early mornings and the late nights began to creep in, and unfortunately it's been a bad habit ever since. Now, many years later, I have finally learned the lesson, and I don't work with people or teams or clients who do not have the same vibe as I do. We all have to be on the same page. We all have to enjoy working with one another. Which leads us quite nicely into number 8, which is understand your priorities and stick with them. So as you may or may not know, I have 3 children. My eldest is about to turn 6, so they are young children. When I go home, I need to be present for them. They have not seen me all day, they've missed me, I've missed them. I need to be there for them. Up until I had children, I never really understood work-life balance. I thought I did, but I didn't really get what it was to be at home and being present at home. I thought that if I shut the door at 5 o'clock and walked away, then that was it, then I was at home. But what I didn't really understand was that I would actually be continuing to work, and invariably I'd end up doing something at weird hours of the day or night or over the weekend. When I had my children, my perspective changed completely, and suddenly I realized that when I got home, my laptop needed to stay off, my phone needed to be switched off, and I needed to focus on them and them alone. Nowadays, when I look for balance, it has to be a proper balance, otherwise I am simply too tired, too stressed, too snappy, too grumpy to actually focus on the things that need to be focused on, which are my children and the things that make them happy and the little things that they do that make everybody smile. Which brings me to my last one, number 9. Keep the right people in your life. This is much easier said than done, and experience really does come with age. I married my husband later in life, and for me that meant that I felt that I had actually made enough bad decisions to actually recognize a good decision when it crossed my path. We complement and support one another, which really pays dividends, especially when all of our 3 children are trying to play us off against one another. We actually know where to center ourselves and where to come back to. As a business owner and a mum, I need to make sure I have the right support around me to be able to do the things that I need to do when I need to do them. Some friends come and go, others stay, but they all give experience as they come and go. So there are my 9 money rules. I like to think that they are more about giving myself permission to do things than they are denying myself things in an effort to get to where I want to go. I've shared them with you because I'd like to think that you can use them as a bit of a guide and as a way to actually come up with your own money rules to help you reach your own goals. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.